Hey everyone, I'd like to take a few minutes and show you what I've been working on over the summer. Before I can do that, some background knowledge of the ZDS shifter is required. Incidentally, all shifters are on sale right now through the end of 2020, so if you'd like to pick one up for 20% off the normal price, you can grab one at zendrumstudio.com/shifter. There's only a handful left, so be sure to grab yours before they're gone. What the shifter is a MIDI device that can alter incoming messages. Messages are received through the serial DIN connector and are either passed through or altered through the out connector or through the USB if you're going to a computer. Basically, any message can be altered. You can turn one note into a different kind of note. You can turn a CC message into a note. Any MIDI message can be turned into a different MIDI message. And those can be turned on or off. So during your performance, you may want just all the MIDI to go through normally, but for certain songs or a chorus or whatever, you may want to change things up a bit. And the way that happens is internally there are 4 shift groups, and you create the shift rules and assign them to those groups. And the groups can be turned on or off independent of each other. So far and away, the top question I get about the shifter is how do you access all 4 groups? There's 4 shift groups, but there's only 2 buttons. The buttons themselves actually are themselves CC controllers. They're independent of the shifter. You can use them without using shift rules at all. All they do is they turn certain CC messages on or off. They happen to be tied to the first 2 shift groups. But yeah, the other 2 shift groups you can't access directly from the shifter. So you can control them externally. You can use the momentary switch on the back of your Zendrum, for instance, to turn one on or off. You can use something like, these are pretty common, just a simple foot switch. The problem with something like this is you need a MIDI device in between, something that can convert you clicking that pedal into a CC message that then comes into the shifter. So you need another device downstream of the shifter. It becomes a whole thing. So that's the number one question I get is how can I control more groups? And to come up with a solution for that, what I've done this summer is come up with this. This is a working prototype of what is being called the Shifter Pro. As you can see, it has 3 buttons instead of the 2. These buttons are also much, much lower in profile. These tend to get snagged on cables sometimes. You drag your MIDI cable across there, you can pull the thing over. Also, this is a little top heavy too. If you're not careful with the way you're stepping with your foot, it's easy to kind of knock it around a bit. So this is it's got a much more lower profile. It doesn't sit as high. It's got the 3 buttons. And this, by the way, is just a prototype, so the graphics are kind of crude. It's designed to be easily changed right now, so we'll get into that in a bit. One other obvious difference is the shifter has these indicator lights on the top, one for each of the buttons and one for the power, and also flickers when there's MIDI activity. This one doesn't have any lights on the top. The buttons themselves are what illuminate. I think that's a bit more intuitive on stage. With the thing that you're stepping on is what actually lights up. You don't have to equate a button to a light. I think it's more intuitive. The power indicator, by the way, is on the back now. You don't need that to be constantly shining in your face. So this, as I said, is a working prototype. It's not just the buttons that are different. There's now 6 groups instead of 3, and each group can have up to 128 shift rules. So it's got way more capabilities over the original shifter in terms of the number of rules that you could create. This one was limited to 112 between all 3 groups. This one, you got 6 groups, each can have 128. It's got a lot more memory is what that comes down to. Now, when you hear me say that it has 6 groups, the first thing you might be thinking is, all right, well, don't you have the same problem then? How do you access all 6 groups when you only have 3 buttons? And to answer that, we'll have to go to the back side of this. Now, this faceplate here is temporary. In fact, the final version of this is going to look a lot more like these renderings here. The plate that's on here just allows me to rapidly prototyped. The entirety of the box is actually cut out at the moment, and then the plate I can swap out and move components around. But in the final product, they're going to be cut into the box just like they are in the shifter. And then likely the top and the back are both going to be silk screen. There won't be the sticker like this or this plate like this. But what I want to draw your attention to is the fact that there are 1/4 inch jacks now. These are all TRS jacks. You may notice that 2 of these are labeled EXP. That's for expression. These take in expression pedals. Something maybe like, I'm very, very fond of these little DoD mini expression pedals. But any type of CC device is going to be able to work with this. It could be a hi-hat controller. It could be, one of these guys again. Anything that's able to electrically generate a variable voltage or an on-off state, you'll be able to plug it right in there. And there's 2 of them. So you still can't get out all 6 groups. You have the 3 buttons here. You can have 2 controllers, at least one, additional one. It's up to you what you want to plug in there. Personally, I'll probably use either the momentary switch or one of the knobs on the back of my ZenDrum. So in addition to the 2 EXP jacks, there's also 2 marked Trig. And that's just what these are. These are triggers. They're actually dual zone each. So if you have cable splitters, there's actually 4 triggers here, 2 on each. But if you have dual zone pads, that'll work as well. I mean, the primary intent here is for people that use hi-hat and kick pedals while they're playing. You'll be able just to plug them directly in there. You won't need any hardware. So any device should be able to work. Any type of pad, any type of hi-hat controller, for instance. It's going to come with some pre-built presets, some profiles for various popular, trigger devices. But you'll be able to program them all independently yourself, should you have a custom trigger or a unique need. Things like the scan time, the mask time, the noise floor, all that's going to be programmable through the client software. So that's pretty much it. The back still has power. It can still power your ZenDrum through the MIDI in. It's still a MIDI to USB device. All the base features that are in the shifter are built into here. Incidentally, the buttons on here function the same as the buttons on the shifter in that they themselves are CC controls. In fact, the shifter doesn't even really need the buttons. For a while I was toying with the idea of making it a small, much more smaller, compact version like a shifter Lite, which just had the inputs on the back and no buttons. And you could use some type of external device to control the shifter. Given the complexities of having another MIDI device and having to do like a MIDI merge and all, I thought that most people wouldn't want that. But if that's something that you think you might be interested in, let me know and I'll consider pursuing it. Yeah, so I'm going to wrap this up by asking for your opinion on this. Is this something that you think is viable? Like I say, it is a working prototype right now. If nothing else, I would use it myself and call it a day. I may mass produce these. The problem is I need to know beforehand what kind of level of interest there are in something like this. There's a lot of costs that I have to incur up front for setup costs and tooling. We got to work with the graphics company for the screen printing, powder coating, the cases. This one was all done, myself in-house, and obviously it shows, but it gives an idea of what it would look like and how it would behave. So yeah, if you could comment down below, what your thoughts are on this. If there's anything that you think could be added, anything that I've overlooked. If there was enough interest, the companies that I'm talking with right now about producing the components for it, we could conceivably have this ready for purchase in early 2021. But again, all that really depends on you guys, what the level of interest is in something like this. Yeah, so that wraps this up. Please comment below. If you'd like, you can email me directly at darren@nibiru.com. You can also reach me on Facebook, the ZenDrum forum there. I'm pretty active. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for your time.